If you're looking to create more social media content in less time with a tool that's going to make it easy and convenient, this episode is for you because I'm going to show you how I use CoSchedule to get more mileage out of the content I'm already creating instead of creating new posts every single week. Coming up. What's up, familia? I'm Kim Jimenez, and let's get right into it. So this is one of my favorite tools, as I talked about in the intro. CoSchedule is where it's at when it comes to planning and organizing your social media content. And the tool that I want to talk about specifically is called Requeue. Now, we did a poll a couple months back, and you guys said you wanted to see more advanced tutorials on CoSchedule. So if this is the first time you're landing on these videos, definitely check out the beginner tutorial here in the cards or in the description box below. Now, Requeue is a really cool feature inside of CoSchedule that allows content posts to be scheduled more than one time according to the schedule that you set up. And so for us, we want to create an evergreen content bucket or an evergreen content schedule that allows content to go out more than just one time. Because here's the thing, most of your social media subscribers and followers are not online at the exact time that you are posting, which means that a very small percentage of them actually get to see your posts at any given time, which gives you an awesome opportunity to repost that social media update months, weeks, and maybe even days later so that more people can actually see it. And before you freak out, I have never had a single person complain and say, hey, I've seen this post 3 or 4 times on your feed, because we do it strategically, and I'm about to show you how. So as you're choosing your Requeue group type, you want to either select an intelligent group, and that's where Requeue will intelligently fill the gaps in your social schedule with messages from this group using your customized Requeue settings. Or you can have a placeholder group, and this is where you're going to manually block out the times and the frequency for this specific message to go out. So say, for example, that you want to create a blog message that goes out every 30 days for a specific time period. You can do that manually using placeholder groups. For this example, I'm going to use the intelligent group because that's what we use and what I think works the best. Now, keep in mind that you're only going to want to do this with evergreen content, meaning content that you can post more than one time. So you want to avoid messages that contain dates, are not timely, or cannot be posted more than once because they just look out of place. And so once you have a basic idea of what you're going to be sharing, you can add custom dates. In this case, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to select this to start today and end never, or end at a particular time frame. For this particular kind of message, I don't want it to end at all because it's evergreen content. You can also add group sending limits and say, hey, I don't want you to send evergreen content from this particular group more than 3 times per week, 7 times per week, 14 times per week. And again, if you want more customization, this is where you could use that placeholder group that we talked about initially, where you can manually block out these times and dates so you have more control. Because we're using the intelligent group setting, these are the options that we have. And now all you're going to want to do is set up your new Requeue message. You can select the social profile that you want this content to go out to, and here's a list of the ones that I have added. And from there, you can select how many times you want this content to go out. So for example, I'm going to be choosing my Facebook page, and you can add more than one social message, by the way. You can have, this go out to your Facebook page and your Facebook group, for example. And so one of the type of content posts that I want to share here is a blog post. I know that content should live more than once, contains a video or a podcast episode or a combination of both, and it can live and stand on its own. Now, instead of just coming up with a new message, which you can totally do here, I'm actually going to repurpose content from my YouTube community tab and my Instagram account for my Facebook page and my Facebook group. So I can just go through my community tab and find a post that I know can stand on its own. For example, this one, right? It's promoting my latest episode here on the Full Focus Planner. So I can just go ahead and select the copy and make a few adjustments, right? Because we don't want to share the YouTube link. We want to share my blog post. And I'm actually going to upload an image that goes with this post. So I can choose here from the uploads that I have already added to CoSchedule, or I can add a new one. Now that I have my media assets selected, I can add that to the post and make some quick edits. Instead of the YouTube link, I want to send folks over to my own platform on the blog. And I'm gonna just quickly grab the link to that specific episode. All right, so here we are. I exited this. This is the episode. I'm gonna go ahead and link that. And this is an opportunity for you to tweak the copy if you need to, make changes, add different graphics, maybe even add a video clip, and just make it unique and your own. To keep these posts fresh, you want to make sure that you're switching them up ever so often. It doesn't have to be every single week, but it just keeps things going and flowing more naturally. Once I have the post finalized, I can configure the requeue settings and say, hey, I want this to be added to the evergreen group, right? Evergreen content group. And I want this message to never expire or expire after I send it 5 times as an example. So I'm going to click save here. And now I have my first 2 requeue messages. As you load on more and more messages to this particular group, you're going to have more variety, and you're also going to allow the requeue to optimize the times for better sending, as well as keep your content feed really fresh because you're not repeating the same message over and over again. Now, how does this integrate with your calendar? That is what we're going to find out next. So as we go through our calendar, you'll see here that I have the previous month selected, and I can take a look at all the different posts that have already gone out. The cool thing about requeue is that you can actually set old posts or old messages that you've already scheduled, and you can turn them into a requeue message. Now, this particular one is pretty old, so I'm not going to select that one. However, I'm actually going to go in here and find one that I think would really do well with the requeue schedule I've selected. All right, so here's a message that I shared on my Instagram account, and I want to set that up as a requeue message. All I have to do is click Add to Requeue, select the group that I want to add it to. In this case, it would be evergreen content, and figure out how many times I want to send this message. For this one, I'm actually going to select 6 times. Hit close and save. Now, if I go back to my requeue group settings and I select the evergreen group, you'll see this post added to the requeue options. Now, you can't change the profile that you've set the initial message as, but you can always copy the message and re-import it for a different profile as a new requeue message right here. So that's an option and something that I wanted you to be aware of. Now, going back to the calendar, I want you to see that requeue automatically, and I'm selecting all my posts so that you can see it all at once, but requeue automatically shows you what content you should be adding to your calendar, and it suggests at the specific times how many posts you should be adding and to what individual social platforms. Now, this is a little bit overwhelming, but remember, I have a ton of individual platforms added to this calendar, and so that's something to keep in mind. If you just want to see the requeue messages that you have going on, you can click on the calendar view and select the requeue filter. Now, I've created a custom view for my calendar so I can take a look at all of the messages and which ones will be added to the requeue. So far, I have none added because it's still kind of thinking and calculating as I continue to add messages to that folder, but it's something to think about as you're going through. You can also add messages to the requeue directly on the calendar by clicking on that green space, hitting the plus button, and creating a new message. Now, you can also add messages that you've previously scheduled to the requeue group. Just select it here, figure out when you want the message to expire, and click save. Now let's customize how our requeue settings are configured so that we can get the most out of our content. If we go to the evergreen content folder or group that I created, you can select requeue settings right here from the top hand side on the right, and then you can pause your requeue settings globally at any point in time. Let's say there is a new unprecedented worldwide event and you need to pause all of your requeue settings just in case there's a message that's not really time sensitive or, is a little bit out of place. You can just click the pause requeue from a global perspective and it's perfect. Additionally, there's intelligent automation settings here, and you can select by clicking on these individual blocks when you feel your calendar should be filled up with requeue messages. So this is fully customizable and something that you should totally check out. Of course, you always want to make sure that you have the right time zone for where you're located in the world and how you want to configure your sending goals. So if you want your sending frequency to be light, all the way up to heavy, and you can customize this even further if you need to. So going through individual social networks is also really important. So you can say, okay, you know what? I want my requeue settings to be applicable to only specific social media profiles. Because for example, repurposing is different for every social channel. So when I'm repurposing content from Instagram, I'm actually going 6 months to a year back to pulling up posts that I posted then, refreshing the image, the video, or the reel, and then reposting it on my account. I don't do this every single week or every single month because it's just not the right place to do that on Instagram. Whereas with platforms like Twitter, for example, where the attention span for a tweet is like 30 seconds and it's appropriate to post more than one time, I will be a lot more heavy with my repurposed content on a platform like Twitter. So I'll be posting maybe 3 to 10 times a day, and maybe 3 of those 10 are repurposed content from the month prior. All those things are important to keep in mind as you're setting your requeue settings. And I know there's going to be questions about individual social media profiles, how frequently you should be repurposing content. And if you want more in-depth answers to those questions, I highly recommend signing up for one of our most popular courses, the Content Calendar System, where we go in depth into repurposing do's and don'ts and give you an entire schedule so that you can feel confident when you're going through this process. And so I hope that you're starting to see how you can easily fill up your content calendar using content that you've already published, as well as content that you're about to publish but can live on further into the future. All right, so I added a few more messages to my requeue schedule, and now this is what my calendar looks like. As you can see, a couple of the posts have already been filled up with these requeue messages. You can see this one right here, this one right here, this one right here, and of course you can always go in here and edit that content if you need to. You can skip for 2 weeks if you feel like you've already talked about this too frequently and you need to make some adjustments. You can totally do that, which is great. You can also preview the post, of course, to see what it's going to look like as you post it. And so that's the beauty of having a tool like CoSchedule that can assist you with creating content that lives further than just the first time you publish it. And hey, I hope that you found this content helpful. If you did, would you do me an awesome favor and smash the thumbs up button below this video? It helps me more than you know and helps us keep creating content on this channel. And hey, I can talk about content creation and CoSchedule for days on end, but I want you to watch my other videos. And so I have hand selected this one for you. It's all about how to create a content calendar with CoSchedule. It's a perfect next step for this video. And inside, I'm going to show you how to create content faster, more efficiently, and almost like a pro social media manager would. So go ahead and click over there. It's going to be somewhere here on the screen as well as in the description box below because it was created with a lot of love and you just don't want to miss out on that. All right, thank you so much for watching. Un beso, and I'll see you over there on that next video. Bye for now.